Long days and pleasant nights, fellow travelers along the path of the beam. I'm Jaime and Fuego.
I'm Marcia Parker.
I'm Cecil, Laird.
And we are back for attempt number 2 at the In the Tall Grass review. We actually filmed one of these a couple of weeks back, and the footage was regrettably lost. So apologies for everybody in both the Hail group and everybody on the rest of the horror show peeps that constantly tune in asking where the hell this is. Well, this time we're going to get it right. And this is from the same director who did Splice, and he did the original Cube movie. Lots of TV work, including some stuff on, the Hannibal show. I mean, Westworld. The list goes on and on. So he's been a very busy television director as well. And this is based on a short story co-written by Joe Hill and his father, Stephen King. That's right. So it's really, it didn't start out as a story that I felt like could have been adapted into something full length, and they definitely take some liberties and they change their fair share of things around. But as far as overall impressions go, I really thought the expansion within the universe was fairly compelling, and the acting from our two siblings who, take up the, lead amount of the screen time, I thought they were both really good and had great chemistry and stuff. Also, Patrick Wilson has an interesting turn in this, but as a whole, I was very satisfied with this adaptation, being a big fan of the source material, and the way they expanded upon it I thought was cool. So, how about you, Ms. Marcia?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. I thought they did a fantastic job. I'm one that believes that Stephen King short stories adapt really well into movies, and his longer novels fit better as miniseries, in my opinion, because there's just so much more in a novel than it is in a short story. And with a short story, they can, they have room to move and to grow within. That's what they definitely did with this one, and it kept it really interesting. It was very visual, a lot more visual than it could have gone really bad, really fast, considering the location. But they did a great job. So I really enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it as well. Honestly, the funny thing is, he did this one with Joe Hill, correct? So
correct, yeah.
It still felt very King-y without the disappointing ending. Yeah. I really enjoyed the ending to the movie, and I thought everything along the way was interesting. It was engaging. It was well shot. But it did still feel very King. So it's not often that we get King adaptations that are that fulfilling and kind of enjoyable all the way through without being 3+ hours. I dug it. I dug it a lot. So Fuego, why don't you cover the story a little bit briefly for everyone?
Yeah, so story is going to be, we have two siblings who are driving cross country. The sister is pregnant, and the brother is very protective of the sister to a degree of, like, I don't know, maybe borderline weirdness and stuff, but it is definitely just overprotective and loving and stuff. And as they are driving through the Midwest, they overhear some just little faint kind of like, "Help me, I'm lost!" And it's this little kid who is apparently lost in this field, which is right beside them. So they pull off the side of the road, and against one of their better judgments, they make their way in, and they in turn get lost, and it turns into them finding this kid, and then in turn finding the rest of his family. And that's where it really starts to play with your mind, and with like space, with time, why they can't seem to get out of this spot. It's very much, if you're a King fan, it's like a thinny. It's like one of those vortex type areas where the universes kind of overlap, and you can easily jump between different places, and hence the fact that they can't escape. They do expand a little bit on some of the religious themes, and there are some changes, so don't come into this expecting the straight adaptation, even in the stuff which is pretty beat for beat. It's still going to have its own spin. It is that other level of the tower, so to speak. And I mean, I don't know. I thought that the story was very well put together by the acting of all these guys, but story-wise, I mean, as simple as it is, I mean, were you satisfied? Thought it was cool?
Yeah, it was really effective. And it's funny because it did remind me a lot of Jeepers Creepers in a way, like with a brother and sister on a drive to X destination, and then things go haywire in the mix, and you kind of learn more about their relationship and their life relationships and all the things. However, it's mixed with, like, it's King, so it's not like a creature per se. It's the environment that's kind of turned around against them. And I guess you could say in a way that there are some little green men running around, but they don't really dig into that. Anyway, I digress. So I really did enjoy the story a lot. I thought they did a really good job. I actually enjoyed the way the movie adapted to the story versus the actual writing of the story. So I thought it was a lot more visual, a lot more fun, and had better twists in the end. And they do get really graphic in some places that still makes me just want to like scream and shout, but it was worth it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was gonna be.
So I really enjoyed the story. I mean, I just kind of let it wash over me. I'm the only one that hadn't read the story ahead of time, and so I enjoyed the twists and turns and unexplainedness and curiosity and intrigue is kind of the prevalent emotion when I was watching it. So I was on board for the story. I thought it played out really cool, and it was just an enjoyable experience. Now, the acting is what assisted that, obviously. Patrick Wilson did a great job. Everyone really did a great job. The brother and sister also, but I thought the acting has to be what elevates such a localized, small story like this. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's really a one-location story. It's the cornfield. Mm-hmm. And that, I always love seeing exercises like that in film, and this is one of the better examples of that, how you can use one location to tell an entire hour-and-a-half long story and not bore your audience.
Right.
Mostly make them more intrigued as the movie goes along. So, but again, I think that's all assisted by the acting. If the acting wasn't there, if you're not buying into someone's performance, it's going to pull you right out of that.
Totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, acting was total aces for me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great segue into the acting. The one thing that was really cool about it was everybody was on the same level. So nobody actually pulled you out from, even the dog was on the same level as everybody. Like it just so organic and everybody fit perfectly. I think the casting person did such a phenomenal job getting the right players to really tell the story. And I think without any of those one pieces, it wouldn't be as successful as it was. It was really well done.
Yeah, I definitely have to point out to the kid, because anytime there is really strong child acting, it's a testament to, the people who cast this film, and obviously the direction from Vincenzo. And yes, this kid, whether covered in dirt or more on the sweet side, depending on what time we encounter him in the story, he sells it. Compelling and just, creepy when he's covered in dirt. And there's a couple beats in the story that we don't want to get into, obviously, where he plays in prominently, and there has to be kind of a creepiness based on the fact that this child has been lost for a little bit in this grass, which is why it's still calling for help, trying to get people out there. And so the kid was really the one that I definitely wanted to make sure that we made note of, because he was great. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So let's talk about the cinematography and the sound real quick. I think the cinematography and the sound worked hand in hand and played a big part in this movie. Again, being one location that is literally just one large cornfield, you have to be very aware of how you're shooting it to make sure you're not boring your audience. And the sound plays into it because there's voices coming from all over. So if you're listening on surround sound, you're like, whoa, even you're getting a bit confused because the movie's doing its job right. So I think the cinematography and the sound design were both very, very well done in this movie.
Yeah, like you said, that had to be spot on. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. Because the whole idea is that the grass is moving them even when they're standing still, and their perception, and there's no real way of knowing where one person is, and it's supposed to alert you. That's when the first big draw was, wait, I just heard you were right here, and then now you're 100 yards behind me instead of like a foot in front of me. Like, it was crazy.
It helps sell it.
Yeah, because that would be very alarming. Like, I'm not moving, but you did,
Moving, but it's not moving. Yeah. Well, the scene where they're jumping up and down,
I
thought was really effective at just getting the point across. Like, where the hell are we? This is really not good. And some of the night scenes I thought were especially creepy. Where they get to some of those bits where the corn has been pushed around, so it's like just like a little mashed down flat area. And also, once we finally encounter what's the word that I'm looking for? I was trying to say artifact initially, but I don't really. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I'll hold off a sec. I just didn't want to spoil the rock aspect. So there is this church which is right beside the cornfield, and there is a large stone that is in the ground that plays in very heavily with just not only the storytelling, but the dread, the religious fanaticism in the storytelling. I mean, and it looks cool. It's one of the few instances where, I mean, almost when they walked up to it, you could see like faces in it, kind of thing, which reminded me of N, which is another Stephen King short that's really good and is about just finding an area where there is so much energy, and it's almost like a Lovecraftian type of thing, and it's super creepy. But I just loved some of the aerial shots of the corn and everything. It felt like just sprawling, just hopelessness of trying to escape. You know, I thought it looked really cool, and I thought the church that they picked out was cool, and we do get a few shots in it, as well as the outside area of like the cars piled up and stuff. Just, I've always enjoyed Vincenzo from Cube onward. He's really knows what he's doing, which I appreciate. So
well, let's wrap it up by hitting on the effects. So the effects, there were both digital and practical, lots of makeup effects, and then some special effects and some CG as well, augmentations and things like that.
Grass,
I thought it all worked well. I thought it was very reminiscent of the Ruins.
Yes.
You know, at times, especially in the gore arena. So I liked it nonetheless. I thought it served the movie well. It didn't overwhelm me. It didn't underwhelm me. It didn't pull me out of the feature. So I think it did its job.
Yeah, I thought they did a really good job with it, especially with the lighting and everything, because a lot of this was shot at night, and that's really difficult when you're trying to, you know, like see things at the night. But they did it in a way where it felt like you were seeing things through the moonlight, and it felt correct. It didn't feel like this is noon night, you know, like why are they so lit? So they did a really good job. And then when you're talking about the CGI and the special effects and whether, I felt that it fit. I think there was places that kind of were a little off, but given the material, I mean, it was really well done.
Yeah, the predominance of it happening at night definitely helped in blending, I think, you know, any sort of digital augmentation that they did to this field that they're stuck in. And so, I don't know, it's a very pretty looking film, as Vincenzo's always are, you know, splice and everything else. So yes, I commend him on that. It's really as complete as far as satisfaction goes for, you know, what I could hope for a King adaptation. So man.
So I think that's going to do it for our review of In the Tall Grass, you guys. Sorry it took us so long to re-record the review, but it took us a while to be able to regather. But here it is. Let us know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. If you like the video, click the like button and subscribe to make sure you don't miss other videos going forward. Thank you to all of our patrons that request movies for us to review, amongst other things. If you want to become a patron, that link is in the description box as well. Until next time, though, I've been Cecil Laird.
I'm Marcia.
Gracias, Jaime, and Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.